Christians, listen to what this person here says. Too bad an omnipotent God only spoke Hebrew, and left us a Bible, which he refers to as B-U-Y, bull, B-U-L-L. He calls the Bible bull, basically. And he says that this Bible spawned 40,000 denominations, then tortures unbelief for eternity. And he calls it a myth. Now, let's deal with this stupidity. He acknowledges, probably sarcastically, that God is omnipotent and he is all powerful. But he's also all knowing and he's also omniscient. And this is where this person is going to come into problems. Now he says that God only spoke Hebrew. God speaks every language. God made humanity. God made every language that exists. And God destroys them at will. And he destroys human souls at will. We need to understand, believers and everybody who's not a believer, God owns us all. We will be a vessel of honor in his house, or we will be a vessel of dishonor in his house. He is the one who chooses. He's the one who chooses who is saved and who is not. He loves whom he will and loves not whom he wills. He has compassion on whom he will have compassion and mercy on whom he will have mercy. And those who do not receive it, it is because he chose to withhold it. Those who believe were given the ability by God to believe and to see and to hear. To those who cannot see and hear, they are left with parables, which will never lead them to understand what he intends to be conveyed to those who do believe. So the Bible is bull to people like this person here, who has been left blind and dumb and impotent of will to see the truth. And yet he thinks it is a surmising of his intellect that keeps him from believing the truth when it is not. It is a lack of spiritual academia being deposited into his account. So he is left, like so many people, bereft of spiritual eyes and insight, left only to come to conclusions that only a carnal mind can come to a conclusion with. As for the 40,000 denominations, God didn't invent those. Man invented those. But then you complain and say that man invented religion, that man invented Christ to control men. And yet you accuse him for spawning 40,000 denominations when Christianity didn't do that. Men did that. Jesus didn't do that. Man did that. Man has created all these different denominations so that the truth is always and ever being diluted. But to get to the truth, it requires a mind and a heart who desires more, to seek and to understand his creator more, to understand and appreciate the work of Christ and what he did at the cross. So while these bloviating people like to come out here and spout all this kind of foolishness, I understand where they're coming from because I was there 40 years ago. And the Lord opened my eyes. He opened my eyes. But I understand what closed eyes see. Nothing but darkness and never the light until God decides to shine his light upon them. Like he did Paul, like he did the apostles, like he does every believer to this very day. And as for being tortured for unbelief, torture isn't the right word, but eternal punishment, it is. It's not torture because torture would not be the right way to put it. This is worse. What unbelieving men are going to get for their rebellion against God is worse than torture, and it is eternal. It will be forever for your unbelief. A myth, you say. If it's a myth, you continue on and run with that. You spread that around that this is a myth, like you're doing right here, forever more immortalized in this TikTok message. But you are condemning your own soul in saying so. No, this faith is not a myth. If it were a myth, it wouldn't bother you so much. All the stuff you watch on TV and at the movie theater, those things are all myths, and you are entertained by them. So why does the Christian faith that you call a myth, why isn't it just entertaining to you? Why isn't it just entertainment? Why can't you view it just as entertainment, like all the other myths that you believe and hold to? I personally don't know what you absorb and consume, but I'm sure you're no different than anyone else. You're not at home reading Rudyard Kipling and reading Edgar Allan Poe or reading any of the great literary people of antiquity. I'm 100% certain of that. But I could be wrong. You might be that one in a zillion people who actually still reads, but I doubt it. I'm sure like most people, you probably take all of your education from rap and hip hop songs or DC Universe at the movie theater. Or, you get your education from the repetition of sports. That's where we are today. So I understand why you think Christianity is a myth. It's a myth because you need it to be a myth. You don't want to have your conscience aroused by what is coming, but be assured it should be. Be wise. Open your eyes and understand. And I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to everybody. The Lord Jesus Christ is returning. And the mistake that so many of you make is thinking that because it hasn't happened already, or in the time frame that you think it should happen, that it's not going to happen. And you mistake his patience and long suffering for his unlikely visit. But be assured of this. Every day that he waits is another opportunity for a soul to come to him. And that's the only reason why he waits and delays his coming. But one thing is for sure, he is not slack concerning his promise. He will be coming here, and those whom he has called shall be saved, and the rest shall perish for eternity for their unbelief. That part you got right. Be provoked and be persuaded.